They laughed when she said she had a dream. A single mom? Owning a business? Good luck with that. One of her co-workers sneered as she stood quietly behind the supermarket counter, forcing a polite smile. That was Monique Harper's daily reality. Endless shifts, long lines, and condescending looks from people who thought they already knew her story. But deep down, Monique knew something they didn't. She wasn't done yet. Before we go further, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and hit that like button so you never miss these true inspiring stories about strength and transformation. Now, let me tell you about the woman they all doubted, the one who turned laughter into legacy. Monique Harper was 33, a single mother raising her 6-year-old daughter in a small rented home on the outskirts of town. Every morning began before dawn, packing school lunches and rushing to catch the early bus to her shift. Her world seemed endlessly gray, bills piling up on the kitchen counter, a boss who never looked her in the eye unless it was to criticize, and neighbors whispering behind her back about poor Monique who will never get ahead. She'd once dreamed of being an entrepreneur, of creating something beautiful with her hands, something that could give other women confidence and hope. But dreams were expensive, and she was barely getting by. Yet, no matter how tired she felt, a quiet determination lived inside her. She never allowed bitterness to take root. Instead, she carried an old notebook filled with handwritten notes, sketches, and product ideas, pages stained with coffee rings and small fingerprints from her daughter, evidence of long nights spent between exhaustion and imagination. The people around her only saw a cashier, someone replaceable. They didn't see the woman who stayed up until 2 in the morning, researching ingredients and recipes for natural skincare products. They didn't see the way her eyes lit up when she thought about helping women feel beautiful without needing anyone's approval. Every insult, every dismissal, every forced smile at work, it all added fuel to her fire. Still, the fear of failure haunted her. She'd tried before, in small ways, and each time something went wrong. A lost shipment, a broken promise, a bill she couldn't pay. Life had taught her to be careful with hope. One evening, after a particularly long day filled with rude customers and a scolding from her boss for something she didn't even do, Monique sat at her small kitchen table. The room was dimly lit, her daughter asleep in the next room, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. She opened that old notebook again. Inside were her dreams in ink, simple, raw, but alive. The first page read, Harper Glow, handmade beauty with heart. She whispered the words softly as if testing how they sounded in the air. For a moment she imagined her name on jars, her products on shelves, her life finally her own. Then the doubts came crashing back. How could she, a single mother with nothing, build something that mattered? She closed the notebook and rubbed her temples. Just as she was about to put it away, she heard soft footsteps. Her daughter, sleepy-eyed, stood by the doorway clutching her stuffed bear. "Mommy," she said quietly, "when I grow up, I want to be strong like you." Monique froze. The words hit deeper than she expected. For a moment, her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of realization. Her daughter didn't see a failure. She saw strength. She saw love. She saw a woman who kept going no matter what. That night, something shifted inside Monique. The fear that had always held her back began to dissolve. If she couldn't do it for herself, she would do it for her daughter, for every woman who had been told she wasn't enough. She took out her ingredients, oils, herbs, and soap base she'd been saving for months. Slowly, carefully, she mixed the first batch of handmade soap, shaping it with patience and care. The scent of lavender filled the small kitchen, blending with quiet hope. When it cooled, she wrapped each bar in brown paper, tied it with string, and placed it on the table. Her daughter, now fully awake, clapped her hands and said, "It's beautiful, Mommy." Monique smiled. It wasn't much, but it was a start. But she took photos with her old phone and uploaded them online with the caption, "Handmade with love, from one mother's heart to another." She hit post and sat back, unsure what to expect. Hours passed, and no one reacted. Then, a single notification appeared. Someone had liked her post, then another, then a message. "Do you ship orders?" Monique's heart raced. She typed back quickly, "Yes, I do." It wasn't a miracle, not yet. But it was proof that maybe, just maybe, her dream wasn't so far away. Outside, the city lights flickered in the distance. Inside, a tired but determined woman sat at her kitchen table, smiling softly to herself. For the first time in years, she didn't feel trapped. She felt free. She whispered under her breath, "They'll see. One day, they'll all see." And though she didn't know it yet, that small act of courage, pressing post on a late night, was about to change everything. Months passed, and Monique's days blurred between exhaustion and determination. She spent her mornings behind the counter at the supermarket, smiling politely at rude customers and pretending not to notice the whispers of co-workers who thought her little business hobby was just a joke. But at night, after putting Lena to bed, she would light a small lamp on her kitchen table, pull out jars of oils and herbs, and start crafting by hand the first products under her new brand, Harper Glow. Each bar of soap, each jar of cream, carried not only her effort, but a piece of her faith that life could be different. The kitchen smelled of lavender and honey, and though her hands ached, her heart felt alive. At first, sales were almost non-existent. Her online store barely received any traffic, and sometimes she wondered if anyone even saw her posts. Still, she continued, uploading photos, writing honest captions about her journey, her struggles, and her hopes. Slowly, people began to notice. A few local women placed small orders, praising the texture of her products and her warm personal messages. Encouraged, Monique began sharing short videos where she talked about natural ingredients and self-care. Her sincerity struck a chord with viewers. They didn't just see a single mother. They saw a woman rebuilding her life with her own two hands. Yet, with the first signs of recognition came the inevitable challenges. Competitors started mocking her on social media, calling Harper Glow a kitchen brand, implying that real beauty products came only from big companies. Anonymous users left cruel comments, saying things like, "Another broke mom chasing a fantasy," or "She all quit in a month." Those words stung more than Monique wanted to admit. There were nights she sat staring at her small shelf of products, wondering if she was fooling herself. But then she would look at a drawing Lena had made, a picture of them together, standing next to a store that said, "Mommy's Shop." That image reminded her why she started. One evening, disaster struck. Her supplier for essential oils failed to deliver on time, and the replacement shipment turned out defective, ruining half her products. She lost almost all her savings. For a moment, it felt like the universe was laughing at her. Another setback for a woman who dared to dream. She nearly gave up, ready to close everything down, when her childhood friend Lauren visited. Lauren had been watching her progress quietly and, seeing her despair, said, "Monique, you've come too far to stop now. Let me help." She loaned her enough money to restart production, insisting that Monique's success was only a matter of time. With renewed strength, Monique threw herself back into work. Instead of relying only on online sales, she began attending local fairs and markets. At first, she felt nervous standing behind her small table, while polished vendors with glossy booths looked down at her setup. But soon, people began to approach, drawn by her genuine smile and the natural scent of her products. They asked questions, tried samples, and left with compliments like, "You can feel the love in your work." Those words filled her with the energy she had been missing for months. Her small booth became a regular stop for many. Then, one weekend, she filmed a short clip showing how she made her soaps. Simple, honest, filmed in her kitchen with her daughter laughing in the background. She uploaded it without much thought, but within days the video went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. People from around the country thanking her for her story, saying she inspired them to follow their own dreams. Harper Glow's online store exploded with orders. Monique barely slept, fulfilling packages, replying to messages, trying to keep up. Local news stations reached out for interviews, calling her the woman who built a beauty brand from her kitchen. But with attention came new pressures. She received offers, invitations, and inquiries, yet she remained cautious, fearing it could all disappear as quickly as it came. One afternoon, she received a message that changed everything, from a senior executive at a major cosmetics company. The woman wrote, "Your brand embodies authenticity and strength. I'd love to discuss a collaboration." Monique couldn't believe it. A real investor wanted to work with her, not out of pity, but because she saw true potential. That night, Monique sat at her kitchen table, staring at her old notebook filled with sketches, numbers, and dreams. She remembered the nights she cried silently after work, the humiliation, the exhaustion, the doubt. And now, someone wanted to help her grow what she had built with her own 2 hands. But along with excitement came fear. Fear of losing control of her vision. Fear of trusting the very industry that had once dismissed her. She knew this decision would shape not only her business but her future and her daughter's life. Looking at Lena sleeping peacefully, Monique whispered, "We're not just surviving anymore, baby. We're building something real." The turning point had come, and for the first time she was ready to meet it head-on. The crowd rose to its feet the moment her name was called. The sound of applause filled the hall, echoing through the lights and banners of the annual Business Innovation Awards. Monique Harper stood still for a moment, letting it sink in. A feeling she once only dreamed of during long, sleepless nights in her tiny kitchen. A year ago, Harper Glow had been nothing more than a handwritten name in her notebook, but now it was displayed in bright letters behind her on the stage, a symbol of perseverance and belief. As she walked toward the microphone, she caught sight of faces she had not seen in months. Her former supervisor from the supermarket sitting stiffly in the crowd, a few of her old co-workers whispering in disbelief, and even a couple of neighbors who once mocked her as she carried boxes of ingredients home after dark. They all looked at her now with the same expression, a mix of awe and realization. The woman they had laughed at had built something undeniable. Monique adjusted the microphone and smiled, calm and poised, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "When I started," she began, "I made creams at night after my shift using whatever I could afford. People told me it was just a hobby, that I was wasting my time. But every product I made carried hope, not just for me, but for every woman who ever felt invisible." Her words resonated across the room, each sentence drawing nods and teary smiles from the audience. "Tonight," she continued, "I want to say something to every woman who has ever been told she can done a let their laughter silence your inner voice. You are capable of more than they could ever imagine." The applause that followed was thunderous, not just for the success she had achieved, but for the message she carried. Raw, human, and deeply true. Later that evening, after the lights had dimmed and the applause had faded into memory, Monique returned home to the quiet comfort of her small house, the same place where it had all begun. The smell of lavender still lingered from her first batch of soap. The table where she once worked still sat by the window, now neatly covered with documents, thank you letters, and orders waiting to be shipped. Her daughter Lena was asleep in her room, clutching a tiny bottle of lotion with the Harper Glow logo, her small hands wrapped tightly around it as if it were a treasure. Monique stood by the doorway, watching her daughter's peaceful face illuminated by the soft glow of the nightlight. In that still moment she smiled, realizing that what she had built was more than a business. It was a promise kept, a future rewritten, and a voice reclaimed. She thought about all the nights of exhaustion, the doubts, the tears, and how they had all led here. Not just to success, but to meaning. Sometimes, she whispered to herself, you have to lose everything before you can find your light. Her journey had not been about proving others wrong, but about proving to herself that she could rise, even when no one expected her to. She looked around the room, the shelves lined with neatly packaged products, the framed award resting on the counter, the small photograph of her and Lena taped to the fridge. All of it told the story of resilience of a woman who turned her pain into purpose. Outside, the city hummed softly, unaware of the quiet triumph happening within those four walls. Never laugh at those who walk their own path, even if it begins with nothing. Sometimes, from the darkest places, a light is born, one that guides others forward. And then, as the music fades, the final words reach out directly to the viewer. If this story inspired you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what you believe in, even when no one believes in you. The words linger for a moment, inviting reflection, echoing the very spirit of Monique's journey. That quiet, unbreakable belief that even when the world doubts you, your light can still rise and shine far beyond the walls that once confined you.